Good evening, folks. Tonight. Who am I kidding? It's 2:15 in the morning. Shit on it. Who am I kidding? This morning, we're going to get to the experimentation. This copy of the getting the reactor to work. It's for the GEET fuel processor. And due to the fact that the original open plan shows the worst designs he had seen, prescribed by Paul Pantone as the worst design in 25 years. So please consider one of the plans below and read the files. Text. They make the GEET work better. Such as, I'm going to open source all these GIF files, all the zip files, and the other one. I'm going to open source all these. I promised someone I would. From the group, I would open source them to Internet Archives. I need to go ahead and do that. Start doing that. Get my Internet Archives account back and start doing that. I'm going to open source it through them. When it comes to the reactives, you've got reactor magnetics. I've isolated all the different piping that the piping groups you can use. You got to use ferritic stainless steel. That's one of three main groups of stainless steel. All the different alloy numbers and stuff are based off of those three groups. You need ferritic stainless steel, black iron pipe, or regular steel. The center rod has to be the exact same. Could be of the exact same three kinds of iron-based metal, or if you can get it alnico. But I don't know if you can get it that thick, if you can get it in round bar. If you do, you have to find someone who specializes in it, because the aluminum and the cobalt, the nickel, and the iron are all together catalysts in that alloy. They're super permeable. Very permeable indeed. They made permanent. It was the strongest permanent magnet until rare earth magnets came along. So I don't see how it wouldn't. Work. Length and shape. You got to remember to burn. If you get one that's 12 inches long or whatever have you, you've got to burn the rod in 20, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. Let's try this again. Everything I made, everything I got online, and the two documents and the two things I made. Sorry, I popped my jaw. There's two things I made. There it finally went. And another piping alternative picture I have made as well. All these three here will be made in MS Paint. They will be photographed and they will be put online on my Internet Archives profile. I will open source them through there. I'll also open source them through other websites if I possibly can. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to edit the reactor magnetics and make sure that all the north ends, every ferromagnetic permeable piece, such as the elbowing, the T or the union or threaded piping you're going to use, however you're going to do it, as long as you're going to use the piping, it's all ferromagnetic permeable. The other side finally popped. Such as this here. This threaded T and whatnot, of course. You can get it done. Now it's going to have some tubing. These are metal tees that'll work in your favor. Now, if you do use this, if you do follow the instructions on this design, you will have to be wary. Make sure they work. Now, the only things I'm going to include in the design ideas from the original online free plans are the schematics for its modified carburetor, 2 schematics for it, some data that's collected on the GEET Field Process PDF, and the airflow management valve, that's the mixing air valve with air and stuff, alternative. Because it's simpler to build, it's easy to maintain, and honestly, if you were to do this next experiment I'm going to describe, what you would do is you would have son of a bitch spring loaded. What you would do is you'd have this lever, this air mixing valve spring loaded. If you did it on a diesel engine, what you would do is you find the throttle screw, adjust it, put a plate in it. Put a plate in there so the throttle will will hit against it, so the throttle will only go so far. And you can continue throttling on the same gas pedal or adjusting with the spring-loaded airflow management valve to bring more GEET gas in to make the mixture more accurately done. It'll be the same principle as if you put a big wood gasifier on a diesel engine. You'd only make the diesel come up to about 35 to 40% and let the diesel be 60 to 65% wood gas to mix in through a little throttle body deal. And it's ideal if you had an intake vacuum pump to pull an intake through vacuum. For both this and the wood gas. Why? It's very simple. Shove it right down through there and pull a vacuum to the intake, or you can just run a small vacuum pump powered by the engine going to the intake, routing the gas to the intake. Mix with everything, run at a certain PSI. Simple as that. It'll swirl with air if you do it right before the air gets sucked down in there, which is a good thing. Now, it's easier if your engine was turbocharged or supercharged. But you do this. I'm going to include all these different things. But my people, hear me out. You do this. This is the test I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about it now. The ultimate experiment. And if you followed all these plans, including the alterations I'm going to do to the open sourcing, a few alterations I'm going to do, you've got to make sure all 12 conditions on this piece of paper are met. What you're going to do is get a sight glass and see if you can make a probe to film it, or if you can capture a picture of it with old school photograph film, so it'll record on paper, small picture, old school pictures that shoots the photos out. And if they record, that's good. If they don't, they don't. You got to figure out a way to do that. If not, there's a couple other tricks you can do. But this experiment, imagine if you did the very design ideas I'm going to post online with these alterations and these instructions, these all changed versions of the how to get the GEET to work instructions, the getting the reactor to work with the edits I'm going to put to here. What I'm going to do next is simple. Or not that simple, but get a generator. Get a turbocharged 3-cylinder or 2-cylinder diesel motor. It's inline, radiator cooled and everything. Now, what you're going to do when you do this, that's why I say turbocharge it. Make sure it's good. It's turbocharged right. What you're going to do is that turbo is going to suck the air in to compress it. So it's going to make a low pressure side that'll suck air in. You're going to use that to put the GEETs, build the GEET reformer, and hook this too. Hook this airflow management deal too. And it'll make it spring loaded and do the very throttle plate thing I just described. So you adjust it to a certain speed and allow that throttle to be held down in a certain spot, and with lever. So the diesel injection will only go to a certain degree. I'd say about 10, 20, 30% at throttle of the throttle, which is going fast, and stop after that. Now, when you do this, make sure you can get some rubbing alcohol to put in a bubbler. Just do it the bubbler method, simplest as possible. Put some tin foil, some aluminum foil, and put it in, making sure it's surrounded by some form of lead, and pipe water from either Lake Chernobyl or all the way over there, or around the Fukushima reactors to put it's radioactive water. I know this sounds crazy, but what you're doing is when you mix it with that rubbing alcohol, radioactive water together, and you atomize it and you vaporize it and pull the vacuum, high enough strong enough vacuum over it, what you're doing, you're going to put the plasma pinch claim to the test. What's going to happen, and if you get a computer, because you're going to make sure the engine and generator or engine with the GEET on it is completely away from the radioactive area, far away from it, and the piping can be done there. And what you do is you get a computer program that can examine exhaust smoke and the chemical table and the table of elements. What you're going to do, you're going to observe the chemistry of the gas. And if there's any kind of crazy changes, that means the plasma pinch claims are verified. And if the radiation's gone, whether the gases that come out are changed or not, that's a good thing. That means at least the plasma, if there's the plasma manages to form, you're going to have, and by the way, before you do the test, when you do the test, you're going to have to actually burn the rod in for 30 minutes to an hour or more. Stop it, pull the rod out with lead gloves and everything, measure the length of the burn-in patterns, get a new rod just like it. Whatever end of the ball compass it touches makes it the compass point north. You put a cup in there. Make a cup cut. You just cup it. That's where you cut it, and it looks like a cup inside, cupped around and inside. And the end that makes the compass point south, you cut it to just slightly above the length of the burn-in pattern as a whole, and then you file it down to a 17-degree bevel and bullet point shape. You put that new rod in there like it's supposed to go, which is the point. This goes that way, and the cupped ends, whatever. You put it back in like it's supposed to, like in the plans here, and you get that son of a bitch. And you test the exhaust. You put the GEET only to one of the exhaust pipes. The other two exhaust pipes can either partially be sucked back in through the GEET and go to the bubbler, and the other part can come off. The smoke can come off and be tested, or it can all go in there, and what doesn't come off, or whatever have you, and what comes off the coming off the turbo, the GEET, make sure one of the exhaust pipe, like the exhaust pipe that's insulated going to the turbo, is the GEET pipe. It'll be constant, so that's a good side. Now, that's where you put the GEET reactor inside of it. And then when you do this, and one of the other exhaust pipes gets its smoke sucked back in, the other exhaust pipe, is bare, is open, bare, or it can go to the turbo. Either way, when you have the smoke come off of one, at least come to one pipe and it comes off. What it's not, the piston, the cylinder, the one exhaust that's not being used to help bubble the GEET gases and the radioactive water and alcohol to be sucked by vacuum through the GEET. what's going to happen is you test the other tailpipe where the other two exhaust pipes, including the one that the GEET reactor is in, goes to, and it comes off. You know, it goes to the turbo, and that turbo to GEET. You test that exhaust pipe, you see the smoke difference. If the emissions are what Paul Pantone claims, which you're looking at a little bit more oxygen in the air around you, no radiation at all. Air is clean. No, less particulates in the air than in the air you breathe. If these things are met, you have just figured a way. You've just proven the plasma pinch claims. Why did I suggest radioactive water? Because radiation in it is ionizing in nature and make the plasma more easily occur. And if it grows enough, there's your proof. This will be the ultimate experiment, and that's why I say Lake Chernobyl or around Fukushima, but you got to be far away from them so that way you'll get accurate ratings. Radiation detectors won't go off. But the piping, the radioactive water that's shielded up good, it'll actually do this. This could be safe. It could be made safe. It could be done. It could be tested. If it works, that means we have a means to save the planet from a lot of forms of pollution. I'm Western Pool Boy Savage. I know this is an extreme experiment, but hey, this is what you got to do to actually prove that this shit worked. The plasma pinch claims work. I'll see you around. Take care, everybody.